Welcome students to STEM Friday. We want to welcome back Ambassador Dameon Wroe. Mr. Wroe is a distinguished author of several books, including Modern Day Mentor. Mr. Dameon is an author, entrepreneur, and business influencer. Today, we will take a financial literacy journey, changing the way we see things. So I'll pass you the mic. Welcome, Dameon.
Welcome, Jackie, and thank you for that amazing introduction. I appreciate you so very much. I want to also say welcome to all of my fine, wonderful, smart, brilliant STEM stational students. I miss you guys every time I get on here, whether it's been a couple of months or whether it's been longer than that. I always want to start off with letting my students know how much I miss you guys when I'm away from you. As you heard Miss Jackie say, I kind of have many hats that I wear. So I've been all over the place since you guys have last seen me. So as you know, my twin boys have their own beverage company and they're only 13 years old and they've had this company growing since they were 10 years old. So 3 years in the business and their business is continuing to explode. So if you would like to see what they're doing in their business, you can feel free to follow them on Instagram at Jujo Beverage. That's at JUJO Beverage. They're doing some amazing things for the community. They're meeting some amazing people, and it's still only the very beginning. So I encourage you to follow them and encourage them whenever you can. You know, we're going to do something a little bit different than we normally do tonight because since the last time I've been on here talking to you guys, I have just really been very fortunate and very blessed while pursuing my career as an author and as a speaker and as a mentor here on this platform with you guys. I have really been blessed to meet some really amazing people that I want to shout out and tell you guys about even before we get started with tonight's segment. I would like to send a very special shout out to two very special people to me who are becoming my friends more and more each day. And that is a gentleman by the name of Danny Morrison and a queen by the name of Robin Ayers. Both of these individuals that I just named to you are radio personalities on KBLA Talk 1580 AM. And let me tell you, since coming across their path in my own professional endeavors, these two people have really, really embraced me. And little do they know, behind the scenes and on the air, as I have been a special guest commentator on the show quite a bit over the last couple of months. For those of you who tune into 1580 KBLA Talk Radio Show, you may have heard me in previous segments, or you may hear me in the future. But I just really want to take this time to shout those individuals out and say thank you. Thank you for embracing me. Thank you for taking a chance to get to know the real Dameon Wroe. Thank you for welcoming me on your platform with open arms and continuously giving me an opportunity to appear on your show and be heard by your many listeners. So I just wanted to start the segment out with some positivity today and just give thanks and credit where credit is due. We are going to have an amazing segment tonight. And again, I told you we were going to do something a little different than we normally do, just for the interest of time, because I don't want this really to go too long. I know we have an hour allotted for this, but I don't even really want to use the whole hour. So I'm going to go a little faster than I normally do. And you can always watch this on the replay for whatever information that you end up missing. I do encourage you guys to take notes. If you have been my student for a long enough time, you know that I'm very big on participation and I'm very big on you guys taking notes. All leaders take notes. And because I know you're leaders, I know that wherever you are listening right now, you have some scratch paper or a notebook with you or in front of you, and that you will be taking notes. So, having said that, let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And go ahead and get started. I'm seeing a message on my end that I'm unable to share my screen because it's disabled. Can one of you guys facilitate that text box going away?
Yeah, hold on one second, Dameon. Okay, try it now.
And here we go. There we go. For some reason, I always seem to get stuck on this screen. So let me start this again. Technical difficulties. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this tonight's presentation up tonight, and you guys let me know when you are able to see it. Nothing yet, huh?
Nothing yet.
Okay. Stand by. Okay. Here we go. Okay, how we doing?
Yep, I can see it now.
Okay, here we go, guys. So the focal point of tonight's presentation is going to be changing the way we see things, facilitated by myself, Dameon Wroe. So before we start getting into the slides, I just want to warn you that there's not going to be, normally I have you guys take turns reading and things like that, but because of the information that I'm going to be sharing with you, it's not going to be a lot of reading. It's just going to be paying very close attention to what I'm telling you and taking really good notes on key points that spark your interest. I have to say that again. If you want to get the most from this training tonight, you should be taking notes wherever you're at and listening very attentively with no distractions. So the goal of why I selected this title as tonight's presentation is because having sat where you guys are sitting right now, as far as in your elementary school classrooms or in your high school classrooms or in your middle school classrooms, right? I was that student just like you who had a teacher teaching me every day exactly the things that you guys are being taught. But as I got older and moved into uh, my professional life as an adult, looking back on my childhood and my school age years, none of my teachers ever taught me how to become wealthy. None of my teachers ever taught me about credit. None of my teachers ever taught me how to start a business. None of my teachers ever taught me how to be a boss or anything like that. Right. So, because that was never taught to me, is the reason I'm so passionate about being here on this platform to talk to you guys. Okay. So, a lot of things that I'm going to tell you may or may not make sense, but if it doesn't make sense, that's okay. I already know that going in because it's going to be based on what I know you have been taught so far. Okay. So my job by the end of this presentation is to hopefully trigger your brain to unlearn some of the things that you've been taught in school so that you have more room in your beautiful brains, in your innovative, smart brains, you have more room to be able to digest and store the information that I'm going to give you tonight. It's kind of like how when your cell phone starts running really, 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 really slow, and you're wondering why it's running so slow. It's because you have 10,000 videos on your phone. And you have file hard drive or something like that, more memory. So I'm going to try to teach you how to unlearn some things so that you can learn some new things that will carry you into your young adult years and cause you to be successful in life much, much faster than I became successful. So having said that, let's move this presentation right along. So this first slide that we're going to talk about is perception. And while we're looking at this image of this glass of water, I want you to ask yourself two questions. The first question I want you to ask yourself is, do you see this glass as half empty? Or question number two, do you see this glass as half full? And whatever answer you chose, either the first one or the second one, would you be able to defend the answer you selected, right? So I'm going to use myself as an example, and I'm going to say the glass is half full. And so now that I've told you what my answer is, I'm going to defend my answer by giving you some information that you can consider for yourself as you continue to look at the image that I'm talking about, which is this glass. So the reason I said that when I saw this picture is because all I see in the glass is water. And since all I see is water, that tells me that you could easily pour into this glass water and stop whenever you felt like it. You could fill the glass all the way up. You could fill it to where it is right now, halfway, or you could even fill it lower than halfway. But the reason I chose that the glass is half full is because looking at the glass, it doesn't appear that somebody has already touched the glass to drink it. There's no lipstick around the rim. There's no lip marks. There's no fingerprints that you could see. So that gives me an idea that possibly nobody has handled the glass yet because all they did was pour the water in it, right? So that is my perception as to the image that I'm looking at. Now, you may have your own definition of why you see this glass as half full. And that'll be up for you to articulate to somebody why you think the glass would be half full. So as you're looking at this picture, you're thinking, what does this glass have to do with financial literacy whatsoever? Because as a boss, the more and more you start becoming to think like a boss, your perception of what you see with your own two eyes, your perception of what you see happening, whether it's out in public at a grocery store, at a department store, in the mall, right? At a car wash, right? Your perception of what you're seeing could be very different than somebody else's perception who taught you to see what you're looking at, right? So your perception is a very big part of your decision-making process. Because if you walk into a store and you see your favorite item that normally costs, say, $100, and you now see that it's on sale for $20, your perception tells you that because you know that item is usually $100 or more, your perception tells you to buy it because $20 is a really good deal. So you pick the item up, you take it to the counter, and sure enough, it's $20, right? So if that's how you would see that, you would have made a very smart decision, right? Purchasing something at $100 for only $20. So perception is part of the decision-making process. It's just not called decision-making because everybody's perception of how a decision should be made is always going to be different, okay? And so before we get into our slide after this, I want you to really listen to what I'm about to say as I read this information to you. And it kind of ties into what I just talked about when I gave you my definition of perception, right? The way you see things in your day-to-day life is primarily based on how you've been taught to identify them. The longer you are taught how to look at things, the longer you will rely on others to tell you how to make sense of what you are looking at. As a boss who will be starting your own business one day, you almost have to unlearn some of the things you've been taught thus far and start making up your own mind about how you choose to see things in your surroundings. So here's a very interesting question that I'm going to pose to the group. And I have to tell you before I read any further that right before we started this presentation, as I was getting ready and putting the last little final touches on this, my son came to me and asked me a question about what perception means because he saw me kind of studying that slide. And so he really is the inspiration for this question that I'm about to read to you. But when I start reading it to you, you'll kind of get some insight as to the conversation me and him had before the training started. And this was just to give him a mentally visual idea of what I was trying to describe to him so that he will now truly understand the definition of perception. Is an olive tree really an olive tree just because someone you trust told you it's an olive tree? Or is it an olive tree because, in fact, the tree has olives on it? I'm going to read that again. Is an olive tree really an olive tree just because someone that you trust told you it's an olive tree? Or is it an olive tree because, in fact, the tree has olives on it? Just because I tell you something is a pancake and I put syrup on it doesn't make it a pancake. It's my perception of a pancake that may not really be an actual pancake, right? Just because I pour some milk into a bowl that's filled with stuff in it, right? It doesn't make it a bowl of cereal just because I'm pouring milk into it, right? But sometimes that's people's perception. Oh, that's a cereal bowl. Oh, he's pouring milk into the cereal bowl. So there must be cereal in it. Not always true, right? So the reason this conversation is important, because when you start your business, you are going to have to make very critical decisions, and there has to be logic and reasoning behind every decision that you're going to make. What product are you going to sell? Who are you going to sell it to? How much are you going to sell it for? Why are you going to sell it for that much? Are you going to offer discounts? When will you offer discounts? Why will you give someone a discount? Right? These are all critical thinking questions that as a boss, you're going to need to be able to answer. So let's move forward to our next slide. And this is really where the conversation tonight is going to get very fun and very interesting. So I want you guys to study this picture for maybe about 30 seconds or so. I want you to study this picture, and I just want you to look at it. There's not really a whole lot to look at. There's not too much going on in the picture for you to look at, but I just want you to stare at it for 30 seconds and look at every single thing that's happening in the picture. And then I want you to tell me, how would you describe this picture to me based on your perception of what you're looking at? Look at every single object in the picture. I don't want you to look at it based on how your teacher at school taught you to look at things. I want you to look at it like a boss. So That's approximately 30 seconds. I went a little bit longer because when I set the timer, I actually hit the wrong button. So I don't know what your answer is to what you're looking at and what you think you see, but let me tell you what I see through my eyes. My perception of this is this individual is looking through a telescope, but the reason he's looking through a telescope is because he's looking across the ocean. He's looking across a small portion of the ocean, and on the other side of that ocean is a really big city. And when I look at that city in the background and I see those tall buildings and that commercial real estate, I see opportunity. I see opportunity through the lens of this telescope. And based on the opportunity that I see through the lens of this telescope, I'm trying to imagine where my place in these opportunities would fit. I see the future. If I'm looking at the background of this picture with my own naked eyes, I'm limited in what I can see. But if I'm looking through this telescope, like this person is, I can see far beyond what you're looking at on the screen. I see a small piece of the neighborhood where there's nothing there. And because I'm looking through this long telescope, I'm thinking of an idea of maybe I can open a corner market right there so that people in that community on that street don't have to walk 7 or 8 blocks down to the nearest market. They can come start shopping at my market that I'm going to be opening up in this city. I see on the top, the tower, the biggest tower that you see in the background, I see a penthouse office for me on the very, very top floor. And the reason I want the top floor is because I want to be able to look out and see everything. Because being able to see everything from that high up, it makes me feel like I'm in control. And really, I am in control because if I'm in that penthouse, control got me there. Being a boss got me there. Hard work got me there. Dedication and determination and faith and courage got me to that penthouse office at the very top of that building, right? And in the penthouse suite of this building is where my next great idea is going to be born. Well, why is that the place where your next idea is going to be born? Because I said so. Because that's what I've decided to do. So when you're a boss and you're always thinking like a boss, here's 2 things you have to remember. Here's where your notes come in. So please take notes of what I'm getting ready to tell you. When you have a goal that you're trying to strive for, there's 2 things that you need to constantly do repetitively over and over and over and over again. Okay. Number 1, plan your work, write it down. The first thing you write down should be plan your work. And after you write down plan your work, the second thing that you should write down is work your plan. Okay? Plan your work and work your plan. Why is that important? So let's use this penthouse office as an example again, right? The only reason I'm there and I'm at the top is because I planned my work and I worked my plan. And so after you work your plan comes your reward. More business. More business means more money. More money means more opportunity to be able to invest in other areas or to invest in other goals that you want to pursue. When you identify what that next goal is and you write it down on paper, plan the work and work the plan all over again. Start from the very beginning, right? And then you will reach that next goal. Once you reach that next goal, go back to the very beginning. Plan your work and work your plan and keep doing that all through your life. Make a habit of planning your work and then working your plan. That's what I see when I look at this picture. So I'm pretty sure if you're following along and you're seeing the heading on your screen right now, you're thinking, this is really weird. You're right. It is weird. It's weird to you because no one has ever taught you to see things this way. And that's the goal of tonight's training, is to get you to see things in a very different way, right? So if you look at your screen, you notice all over the place that there's a bunch of different colored juices everywhere, right? I could have put some more current pictures up here, but I thought these were very good to show you guys so that you can see how progression works, right? When you start your business from the very beginning, it's not always going to go exactly the way you see it happening in your mind, but that's okay. Keep taking baby steps until you get there, okay? So what you're seeing right now is the very beginning stages of my son's beverage company at Jujo Beverage when they started selling their own original, unique, very good tasting cold pressed juices, right? So if you look at the bottles in the center picture, what you're looking at is an actual order that a customer purchased from them. Yes, let me say that again. This picture in the middle is an actual photograph of a delivery that my kids made to their customer's house who ordered, I think, somewhere between 30 and 31 juices from them. And I will share with you just a little quick fun fact. If your juice or your cupcakes or your cake or your peach cobbler, especially if it's food or beverage, if your product is not good, no one's going to buy 30 bottles of it. So that should just give you an idea of how good the juices are. And this is the average order from this customer. At one point, this customer was ordering this volume of juices for about 3 or 4 months straight every weekend. So just a little fun fact to let you know. These are very good tasting juices. But if you notice, the juices don't have any branding on them. They don't have any labels. Well, what you're seeing is the kids used to write the flavors on top of the bottles. If you see those little initials at the tops of the bottles on the black part, it's because they didn't have labels to identify what flavor this is, but that was always one of their goals. So now if you go to their Instagram page and you look at their juices, you will see that every juice has a very professional looking label, and the label identifies not only what the flavor is, but the different ingredients inside that bottle of juice, right? The picture on the right are these same juices just taken in a different photo inside the customer's house. So now let me get you caught up to speed with why these are employees. When you start your business, you're going to be your only employee. You're not going to have any employees, right? You're going to be doing all the work. You're going to be making all the food, all the drinks, all the orders. You're going to be doing the consulting or whatever services you're offering. You're going to be doing that by yourself. So you're not going to, not only are you not going to have employees, starting your business off, you're not even going to have enough money to pay somebody to be your employee. You're going to do all the work. But that's why as you go, you're going to get a lot more experience. Okay. So where's the employees? When you saw the word employees, you probably in your mind, you started looking for an actual person in the picture. I don't see any people. Well, the reason why you don't see any people is because people are not the employees of my son's beverage company. Every bottle that you see inside this slide, every bottle by itself is an individual employee. Why? Because employees who know their employees, they work, and then after they work, they get paid, right? You don't get paid before you do the work. You have to work first, and then you get paid, right? So when a customer drinks one of these juices and they decide they absolutely love it, the work is done. So my sons get paid. Let me say that again. When the customer finishes the juice, they drink it all down, they decide they love it, and they decide that they're going to order more later at a later date, right? The juice becomes the employee. Why does the juice become the employee? How is that possible? Well, I'm glad you asked because I was going to tell you anyway. The juice becomes the employee because as the person is drinking the juice is working. So what do you do when you work? You get a reward. The reward is that same customer places another order later down the line of 30 more juices. 30 more juices times $7.50 for each bottle. You do the math. That's how much this order costs for this customer. If you look at the photograph on the far left, those are 2-ounce freshly made ginger shots. How many people love ginger shots? A lot of people we know because they buy them like crazy, right? Those are 2-ounce ginger shots. And the ginger shots are only $3.50, but they're so good that when people order them, they usually order a ton of them at one time because they're really that good, no cap, right? So each bottle that you see is an employee. If you're looking at the very first picture on the left, you see 3, 6, 9, 12. You see 13 ginger shot bottles. So in that picture, you see 13 employees. In the middle picture, you count those bottles and you see approximately 25 to 30 employees. Same thing for the picture on the far right. You see about 30 employees because each bottle is working for my kid's juice company. And so that's how I want you to think. And I'm going to give you a visual example of that before we end. So here's your home-based business option number 1. So for those guys on here, or I know there might be some girls on here who enjoy skateboarding too. I see it all the time. So this is really a very profitable idea for you to start a home-based business repairing skateboards. If you're a skater and you know all about skateboards, you know how they work, you know how to make them go faster, you know how to slow them down, you know how to make them turn better, you know how to make them not turn at all if you want to do tricks on them or whatever, you know how that skateboard is supposed to function. So I'm going to create an example for you. If you look in the first picture on the left, you see a broken skateboard. I mean, it doesn't take rocket scientists to figure out that the skateboard is broken. But if you look at the middle photograph is your opportunity to start a skateboard repair business right from your home. Well, why would I do that? Because you have a bunch of people on your street and in your neighborhood that are always up and down the street riding their skateboards. This would be a great opportunity for you to connect with those people and say, hey guys, by the way, I just started a brand new home-based skateboard repair business. So if you guys ever get your skateboard broken, bring it to my house. Let me take a look at it. And I'll only charge you a few dollars to fix it. You make up the price. You know how much skateboard repairs cost. If you know a skateboard repair would typically be $50 at a store if you took it down to a store. Maybe you don't want to charge $50. Maybe you want to just charge $25, right? So the opportunity for that other person is that they get to save money. And now they don't have to wait for their parents to be available to go down to the store and drop their skateboard off for repair, because now they can just bring it to your front door. It might take you a few hours to fix it, and then you got 25 or $30 cash money. Well, what's the picture on the far right? We're going to get into that. I just want you to look at it. I almost told you about it, but I'm going to save that for the very end. Okay. So this is just one home-based business idea. So for you young ladies on here who like getting dressed up all the time and making your nails look pretty and, you know, doing your hair and all that other type of stuff, maybe if you knew of somebody who had a broken fingernail, right? You might say to that person, oh, I can fix that. So imagine somebody came to you with a broken fingernail like the picture on the left, and then by the time you finished doing their nails, it looked like the picture in the middle, right? You can do that from your home. You don't have to have $1 million to open up a store. You don't have to pay, you know, $1,000 a month for, insurance on your building inside of a shopping mall or something like that. You can have somebody with that broken nail come over to your house for an hour or two, let you do the work, and then you can charge them money for that. So that's business option number 2. A lot of guys these days love riding dirt bikes. I know when I was a kid, I loved riding dirt bikes, jumping over things, doing wheelies, doing tricks, jumping over curbs, racing. As you can see in the far left picture, this particular bike has managed to find its way underneath somebody's car for whatever strange reason. But that broken bike in that photograph on the left, that's an opportunity for you as a home-based business owner. Maybe there's a kid in the neighborhood who has a broken tire. Well, if his parents don't have a car to take him to get his bike fixed 5 or 6 miles down the street, maybe you can walk over to his house, take a look at it, and offer to fix it for him for a few dollars. You can charge people for that. You can learn how to do bicycle repairs very easily. You could YouTube that. Everything is at the tip of your fingers these days. If you don't already know how to do it, go to YouTube University and watch a couple of videos and watch how other people do it. You're smart enough to repeat what you see them doing in the video. And by doing that, you create an income. So most people who are looking at this photograph on the left side of the screen would say that that is a blender, but I disagree. I disagree that that's a blender, because in my mind, the way I think, I know that it's not a blender. And this is the slide in the conversation where your mind is going to slowly start to turn in a little bit different direction from what you've been taught so far. And your thinking is going to turn in a whole nother direction, right? And you're probably going to bust up laughing when you realize your brain is doing that, because you're going to realize that you are now thinking about things in a different way that most people up to this point have never taught you or never showed you. But that's okay, because we all learn together, and every day is training day. We don't know everything. Like, I don't know everything, but I know what I know. And what I know is more than enough information to help you guys get from where you're at to where you're trying to go. So if you look at the photograph on the right side, the far right side, right, you would say, oh, that's a cake mixer. I disagree. I disagree. So you're probably thinking, well, he's probably going to say that that's not a cash register in the middle picture. So what else could it be? No, you're correct. It is a cash register. You're 100% right. If you looked at that middle picture and said that's a cash register, you're right. There's no trick. There's no trick to it. So let me go back to that slide. So we're pretty much at the end of the slide presentation, so I can talk to you guys in a little bit more detail about everything that you've seen up to now, right? The reason why I told you that this blender on the left is really not a blender is because my mind thinks like a boss. And so because my mind thinks like a boss, I see this blender as a cash register. The blender is not a blender. If you are the type of person who loves being in the kitchen making things and you always share it with people, and every time you share it with somebody, they say, oh, this is so good. When somebody tells you, oh, this is so amazing, how much does this cost? When people start asking you how much it costs, that blender is no longer a blender. It is your personal cash register. Do you understand that? If you can put things inside this blender, blend it up and pour it into a cup and sell to people who enjoy drinking it every time you make it, that blender is no longer a blender. It is a cash register. Well, why is it a cash register? Because it's giving you an opportunity to create brand new money that you ordinarily would not have had if you didn't have something delicious in this blender. So the more you put things in there and blend it up, pour it into a cup and sell it to people, it's not even a blender anymore. It's a cash register. Because this is the reason you're able to sell things and make money by doing it. The same for the picture on the far right. You see it in your mind as a cake mixer because at some point in your early years of life, you saw your mom in the kitchen making a cake or making brownies or cookie dough or whatever. And maybe your parents have one of these in their kitchen. So in your mind, you see that as a cake mixer. But what I'm telling you is it's not a cake mixer. If you can put something inside this bowl and make it incredibly delicious and turn it into these cupcakes that you see right next to it, and you can sell these for a lot of money to people, that's no longer a cake mixer. It is a cash register. Why is it a cash register? Again, because it's creating an opportunity for you to make things, sell things, and get money. So if you have a blender or a mixer in your kitchen, from now on, when you look at that item, don't see it as a blender or a cake mixer anymore. It's a cash register if you use it correctly. Use these types of appliances to your advantage to earn money, right? Okay, so now I want you to look at the picture in the middle. Now, this cash register is probably somewhere between, I'd say, $800 and maybe $1,800, right? Because it's very big and the technology inside this cash register gives you an opportunity to sell things and keep track of what you're selling, but then give your customer a receipt at the end, right? But think about it. Are you gonna carry this giant cash register around everywhere you go selling stuff? Are you gonna do it? Would you do it? I'm gonna tell you right now, I personally would not do it. I just had a very big event last month called the Black Writers on Tour, and it was held in the city of Carson. And not only was I an author who was there selling books, there was a ton of other authors at the event selling their books, selling their services, selling their products, whatever it is they sell. Nobody had a cash register this big, not one person. I don't even think the food vendors who were there selling food had a cash register this big. But you need to create a way to make money as you're selling things to people. So now I'm going to go back in the presentation real fast. So now the only picture I want you to focus on in this screen right here is the picture on the far right. You see a cell phone, you see some numbers on the screen, and then you see this white square plugged into the bottom of the phone. That square, let me go back one more time. That square is the same square. Oh, did I delete it? Oh, I think I deleted that one. So if you just look at that that little white square, does the same thing this ginormous cash register does. You can't put this gigantic cash register in your pocket or in your backpack. But if this little white square plugs into your phone and does every single function that a real cash register at a grocery store can do, that little white square is your new best friend if you're selling cupcakes, or if you're fixing people's bike in your neighborhood, or if you're fixing people's nails in your parents' garage or something like that. This little thing can go in your pocket everywhere you go. And if you have a cell phone, all you have to do on your cell phone is download the Square app. If you go to your app store, look for an app called Square. Some people refer to it as Square Reader. But once you get that app installed on your phone, You now can go anywhere in this world with a little tiny miniature cash register inside your pocket, and no one would ever even know you have it. My kids use this all the time when they deliver juices and the customer wants to pay with a credit card or a debit card. They just plug it in, they itemize the customer's order, and when they are ready to cash out, they hit that little blue bar at the bottom of that cell phone screen, and then they're able to swipe that credit card. No cash is even exchanged. And once they approve this credit card transaction, the money goes directly into their business banking account, and they never have to touch money. So I hope something that I shared with you guys tonight will make you really honestly see things in a better way, right? When you see things in the grocery store, when you're doing grocery shopping with your parents, you might see a sign on the rack, right? 2 for $1. You might see a sign that says 2 gallons of milk for this price. Just because the sale says 2 for 1 price, it doesn't mean you have to buy 2. It doesn't mean that. It means if you want to buy 2, this will potentially be a better deal for you, but you have the power to decide if you want to buy it or not. So I want you to focus less on buying, and I want you to focus more on charging people for information you have in here. If somebody wants to sit down with you and they want you to show them how to fix things, you can charge them for that. It's called a consultation fee. And if they don't want to pay it, you just say thank you and good luck, and you keep it pushing, right? So, I mean, you're the boss. You guys have had enough trainings from me to know that by now, we've been doing this for over a year now. So by now, when it comes to financial literacy, you should be more inclined to see things the way a boss would see it. Remember, in the very beginning of this presentation, you saw that person, right, looking through that long telescope. What were they looking at? It depends on what your perception is. Imagine in that screen, let me go back to that picture real fast. I want you to just look at this. That person looking through that telescope, I want you to imagine that that person looking through that telescope is you. What do you see? What do you see on the other side of that city? What on the other side of that city catches your attention or catches your eye? You can create whatever that is. You create the opportunity you want to see. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I've been in business as a publisher and a professional writer, a professional author for 23 years. It'll be 23 years for me next month. And if I can do it, you guys can do it. If my sons, right, at 10 years old, can start a successful, powerful, thriving, home-based business, so can you. Ask your parents for help. If they don't know how to get you started, reach out to Miss Jackie, reach out to Miss Adrian, and they will get in touch with me. And if they get in touch with me to tell me that you guys want to start a business, I will help you guys. Because when you guys get done with high school, just because you're graduating from high school, it doesn't mean that life's over and you finally made it. That's where life really begins. And you got to know how to make it in this world, because times are really tough right now. But if you go back and look at all the information that I've shared with you guys and all these financial literacy trainings from the very beginning to right now, you guys can just literally become the next wave of young, innovative entrepreneurs in the business world today. And you can do it before your 18th birthday. It's very, very possible. My sons are only 13 and they're already doing it. And if they're doing this at 13, can you imagine where they're going to be when they turn 18? All things are possible. Don't let anybody tell you it's impossible, and don't let anybody steal your dream. or steal your joy. So it's a lot of information here on this last slide. I actually kind of didn't have time to create the slide the way I wanted to, but the information was the same. I will let you guys read this at your leisure. All it is a copy of my current book, Modern Day Mentor, which is helping a lot of people in America right now. I mean, it felt really good, you guys, to go to a big, gigantic annual book convention last month, right? It felt so good to see people walking up to my table and purchasing this book that I wrote years ago. Now, imagine today you're still earning money from something you did 3 or 4 years ago. That is the power of residual income. And I don't care what your teachers, oh, I kind of wish your teachers were tuning into this because I'd love to tell them. I don't care what you learn in school. I don't care what degree your teachers in school show you how to get. I don't care. It's good to have a degree. It's good. If education is your thing and that's what you want to do, continue to pursue it. But I'm going to tell you, as you start to move into the workforce, residual income, you guys, is the most powerful form of income. It is the most powerful way to make money because it means you did something one time and you're getting paid for it over and over and over and over and over and over and over without having to repeat the effort of why you started getting paid in the first place. The only other thing more powerful than residual income is passive residual income. Look it up, research it for yourself. Find out what your perception of passive residual income is to you. And then once you guys are ready to get started with your business, I just want to be scrolling through social media one day and see that you guys are like at the top of some Fortune 500 company, or you started your own company, or you started your own business and you are just literally soaring. I want to be able to look at that and say, that was one of my students. And look where she is now. Look where he is today. I really want to see you guys make it because I know that the information that I'm sharing with you, you're never going to learn it in school. You're never going to learn it in school. So again, I hope I've said something to you guys that empowered you, inspired you, and motivated you to be greater today than you were yesterday. So with that in mind, I want to say peace. God bless. Thank you guys very much. And I'm always here if you guys need me for anything. I'm not hard to find. Just let Miss Adrian know or let Miss Jackie know. You guys have an amazing weekend. Peace.
Thank you, Dameon. Always good information. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're gonna
As
load it up
always,
for the kids.
home run.
Yep. We're gonna load it up for the kids on YouTube. And for the bunches of kids we got at our table yesterday to be able to view as well on YouTube. So just stay tuned.
Awesome.
All right. You have a great
Awesome.
weekend. All right. We appreciate it.
All right, you guys.
Okay.
You have a good weekend also.
God bless you. Thank you.
God bless you also.